We're a rare breed. You can probably count us on one hand. The cyclone chasers with the will to travel anywhere in the world to hunt down a specific target. The eyewall. But when you leave the vast expanse of hurricane-prone coastline in the US, well, things get complicated quickly. Okinawa. My 10th attempt at a typhoon here. This time a powerful Cat 4 called Khanun, which looks set for a direct hit, until suddenly it doesn't. And that's island chasing in a nutshell. Stood at Land's End watching the target sail past, knowing you should have stayed home. But sometimes what looks like a bust on paper ends up kicking you in the teeth.
And it's all down to the wobbles now. Whilst I suspect that the eyewall is going to pass just to the south of Okinawa, being on the north side of the typhoon, where the winds usually pack a greater punch, when it's at its closest approach, I suspect we're really going to feel it. Well, I think I'm going to just hang out here for the next few hours. You see, I don't want to go back to my hotel and get comfortable, because once that happens, it becomes a real ordeal to get back out into the storm, especially in the middle of the night, start covering it. It's starting to get unpleasant, and that is one of the weirdest typhoon skies I've seen. It's like this kind of weird brightness, but the winds are starting to rip now. Yeah, a little bit of a typhoon sunset, why not? Wow. Well, the winds have started to escalate way more than I was expecting. Just to the south of here, in an elevated location, JMA weather station has just recorded a gust of over 100 knots, which is a lot more than I was considering, given that we're still miles away from the eyewall of this storm. Seeing these sustained winds, but instead these huge surges of blasting wind and rain just screaming through the streets of Baja, kind of ripping around the sides of the building. It's really impressive when they blast through.
You have to work the marginal storms. The shots don't just appear, you have to hunt them down. That means analyzing the radar, reading the wind direction, tide times, and positioning yourself right in the sweet spot. And today, that's the southeast coast at high tide.
So it's high tide down here on the waterfront in Yonamaru, and the wind coming straight onshore is driving all this sea spray. These big waves crashing over the seawall behind me. The typhoon is starting to move away from Okinawa now, but it's got these strong southwesterly winds in the tail of it, which are going to keep on pounding us for many, many hours to come. These are classic typhoon conditions right on the waterfront with the onshore flow. It's just a blinding mass of sea spray, heavy rain. We're at high tide, so the waves are kind of crashing in. This is what it's like to be in a typhoon.
And as conditions continue to escalate, it becomes clear Khanun might not be the bust I thought it was going to be. The storm is an anomaly. Powerful winds extend way further from the eye than I've ever seen in a typhoon here. Okinawa gets a pummeling. The storm knocks out power to a quarter of the island, floods numerous properties, and shuts down the airport for 4 days.